Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great with your Inktober, Drawtober, Witchtober, or whatever Tober you're doing this year. I'd like to thank you so much for the amazing feedback that I got on my previous Inktober video. I really truly appreciate it. I'm back today with another Inktober themed Draw With Me video, but before we get started, I'd like to introduce you all to Wix. Wix is kindly sponsoring the content of this video and I am super grateful and excited for their support. In case you haven't heard of Wix before, Wix is an online platform where you can build your own customized and professional website. You can choose from hundreds of beautiful templates, and with their website builder and advanced drag and drop tools, you get completely creative freedom to customize your website down to the tiniest details, making it truly yours. With Wix, you can create a website for just about any purpose, whether it being a business, a personal brand, a portfolio, or maybe a mix of all of them. Wix offers unlimited pages and top-grade hosting for your website. And there are some amazing features available for you if you decide to upgrade to a premium plan, such as custom domain hosting, online payments, analytics, and so much more. Together with Wix, I am releasing a video next month on building your own art portfolio / personal website. I just moved my own website to Wix, and I'm really excited to share the process with you on how I decided what art to include, show you how the builder works in action, and how I'm setting up my new store. All of this coming to you in a video next month. In the meantime, you can try out Wix for yourself. Go to wix.com/go/Nadiaxel and get started today. I'm also offering you 15% off a yearly premium plan of your own choice. Just use the promo code Nadiaxel15 at checkout. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and please enjoy the video. So for this illustration, I started out with some sketching in my sketchbook. I wanted to do a mermaid. Did I do a mermaid last time? I suddenly don't remember the last video at all. I think that was a witch, actually. Yeah, that was a witch. So I decided I wanted to do a mermaid this time. And I wanted it to be framed in this black kind of box with some bubbles from the water, and then have her borderlessly just fuse with the rest of the white paper. So yeah, that was the idea. So here are some of the thumbnails that I did in my sketchbook with some different kind of poses. And it is the last one, number 5, the one that I'm drawing right now, that I ended up going with. I can't quite explain why. I think I just like the flow better, and also the fact that I didn't have to draw a full body. And in this video, the lighting in my workspace is changing quite not like a lot, but just a bit. And I've tried my best while I was editing the video to kind of even out the lightings. But in my workroom right now, in my office, I have a window just next to my desk at the left side. And I'm also putting up some studio lights to even out the light from the right side. But whenever the sun is out, it messes up with the lighting. No matter if I pull the curtains down or how many lamps I put up, I can't control the sun, and the sun is a very strong light source, obviously. So sometimes there'll be some shifting lights. I'm trying not to record any of these traditional paintings while the sun is on this side of the house, because it actually leaves to the other side fairly quickly. But this day I just had to record it this early because I had a very, very tight schedule and I couldn't wait to do this till nightfall. So I apologize for if you notice the shifting lights. I'm trying to make up for it as best as I can. And another little thing that I thought I wanted to mention is that on these Draw With Me videos that are so long, they're I think I have some at 30 minutes now and some at 40 minutes. I want to try to run a few more ads on them, so YouTube better helps sustain my career as an artist. I really hope you don't mind, and just feel free to skip them. It doesn't matter. I'll just put them in there and see if it makes a difference, because I think it will. So I need to work less on other stuff so I can make more YouTube. So in light of Halloween coming up soon, I thought today I wanted to mention a few horror movies that I really like that I recommend others to watch. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about them as well, but I won't be spoiling anything, so don't worry. First, I want to say that I really like to watch horror movies, and I've kind of become a horror fan in the past, what's it like now, 8 years or something. I used to be terrified of horror movies. I mean, really terrified. Even just overly dramatic movies or thrillers, I couldn't handle them as a child. I would wake up in the middle of the night having cold sweats because I was getting nightmares. I couldn't sleep again, so I would have to go sit in the kitchen. One of my rats is making a lot of noise right now. Have to go sit in the kitchen in the middle of the night with all the lights turned on and just drawers or something because I couldn't go back to sleep, and I was also kind of afraid of the dark, and I had a very crazy imagination as a child, and I kept sometimes floating between the stage of being awake and being asleep, and not really realizing if I was seeing stuff or if I was dreaming. Really horrible, okay? But then after I moved away from home when I was 21, I started casually watching horror movies every day when I came back from school. And it actually really helped me. So I would just put on a horror movie in my completely lit up bedroom, and I would draw something also, or I would sit and play on my Nintendo DS or something while the horror movie was playing. And I started out with a lot of classics like The Ring and The Grudge, and movies that I don't particularly like because I think they're bad. But they gave me the opportunity to explore the horror genre on my own, and eventually I ended up liking horror movies and the thrill so much that now that's just my favorite genre, and I can always watch a horror movie, and I love when new good horror movies come out. And that's why I want to talk about and mention some horror movies today, because I feel like a lot of movies in that genre are really bad, and I have a few that I think are really good that I want to recommend to you. And the first one is one of my favorites, and it's Conjuring. The first and the second movie. I think the second movie is the best, but I also like the first one. So Conjuring is basically a movie series based on the Warrens, who were paranormal investigators, and their journals. And I mean, those were people living in the actual real life, and the movies are based on their journals and their experiences, and pretty well famous hauntings as well, such as the Amityville horror and stuff like that, which actually gets a feature in one of the movies, even though it's not about that movie. So I really recommend Conjuring 1 and 2. They have some really nice like shock effects, but they don't seem cheap at all. And yeah, I just really like them because the cast is also really well picked out. Another one I want to recommend, and that's a series, and it's on Netflix. It's called The Haunting of Hill House. I think this is the best horror series I've seen in my life. I don't remember how long the episodes are. I think they're between 40 minutes and an hour, and there are maybe 10 episodes or something. And there are so many Easter eggs in this series, and it's just so well made. There was a scene, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. There was a scene where a lot of the main cast was gathered together and talking, and then 10 minutes in the conversation or something, my husband said, "Wait, isn't this like a one-shot?" So one-shot just means that you don't turn off the camera, and even if they just fake the one-shot or whatever, it was really incredible when we realized how long they had been going on without the camera cutting at all. So that series just incredibly terrifying and has some really, really nice effects, and I don't think it ever gets boring. It's kind of like watching Game of Thrones with horror. Even when the cast is just talking, it's still very entertaining and thrilling. So yeah, I really, really recommend The Haunting of Hill House. The next movie I'm going to recommend is probably the one that I've seen the least of. I mean, besides Haunting of Hill House, which I've only watched once, Sinister, the next movie, I probably watched the least too, because it's so terrifying that I can't really watch it alone just yet. And it's mainly because of the sound design. The sound design in this movie is incredible and bound to give you nightmares. There are these little scenes in the movie where the main protagonist finds some old film that he plays, and while he plays these old films, there are some very, very eerie sound designs happening, and I swear that will give you nightmares. Besides that, the movie is okay, but just because the sound design is so amazing, I recommend watching it to have nightmares. Next movie I'm going to mention is a personal favorite of mine, not necessarily because it's really, really, really good, because it's just, I think it's okay. I mean, it's good. It's not amazing. It's good. It's called Hide and Seek, and it's about mental illness. That's as much as I can say, and some of the consequences of it. And it also has a child as the main protagonist, as one of the main protagonists at least. And the reason I'm mentioning this video is because that's the first horror movie that I learned to watch on my own without getting scared. And I could watch it in the middle of the night or at broad daylight. It didn't matter. I could watch this alone as the first horror movie without getting scared. So yeah, a personal little favorite. And the next two movies I'm going to recommend are classics. There are Alien 1 and Aliens, which is, I mean, Alien and Aliens. Alien and Aliens. Alien is Alien 1 and Aliens is Alien 2. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit right now. I just really, really, really appreciate a classic old monster movie, and Alien is my favorite by far. I just think all the cast are amazing and incredible, and the fact that this was before CGI and they actually built the aliens in suits, that's just incredible. But those are classics, and I really recommend you watch them if you haven't watched Alien movies yet. And if you're really, really into them, I also recommend you watch Prometheus. I really, really like that one as well. Although I don't find it as horror-ish, it's more like thriller, sci-fi, but yeah. The next video I'm going to recommend is The Visit. A video I explored quite recently, actually. Recently being within the last few years, but I only watched this like 3 times, I think. Maybe 4 times. And this movie is, it's scary. It is a horror movie, but it's also incredibly funny. The 2 main protagonists are teenage kids who just does an amazing and incredible job at mixing between showing real feelings on tape and also messing around. And it's about 2 siblings, a big sister and a little brother, who visit their grandparents for the first time. They have never met them before. And then things just get really, really creepy and weird really fast. And it's really, really a good movie, and it has an amazing plot twist. So I really recommend that you watch The Visit. The next movie, actually I think this movie too, is something I only watched this one once too, because it's too creepy to watch again. And how funny, it's called Creep. I found it on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Netflix where you live, but Creep is creepy. I mean, incredibly creepy. And if you're scared of furries and stuff like that, don't watch Creep, okay? Unless you really want nightmares. This is such an... I don't really know, I think they have like a term for this kind of movies, like when the camera is handheld. So it's actually, there are 2 main characters. One is the protagonist and one is the villain, obviously, or something. But the main protagonist is... No, actually both of them, now that I come to think of it. Both of them use the camera throughout the movie, but the main protagonist used it most of the time. So it's a handheld camera, kind of like Cloverfield-ish feels. So it feels like a home movie that someone found somewhere. It's a really, really good and very creepy movie, and sometimes you just sit there like, I don't really know what's going on, but I feel terrified. Basically, you if you have had problems with stalkers, maybe you shouldn't watch this, because there are definitely some stalkerish things happening in it, and it's generally just really, really creepy. And the last movie I'm going to recommend for this year's Halloween is one of my, I think, current favorites, because I always feel like putting it on, and I can watch this on my own as well. And it's Mama. And it has Nikolaj Coster-Waldau in it, the Danish actor who plays Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. And he actually plays two characters in it, but they're twins, so yeah. But but it's probably one of the best horror movies and most creepy monster designs made in present time, I think. So very shortly, it's about two kids who gets found in the forest where they have been raised by some kind of entity that they call Mama. And they're brought out back from that forest house out back into civilization. And the kids play these roles so well. You have to remember that one of the kids, in the story, when they got out in that cabin in the woods, that's actually a title of another amazing horror movie, but that forest house, she was really, 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 really young. I think maybe 3 years old. So basically that forest house is all she remembers for those years they were there. I think they were maybe there for 5 years or something before someone found them. All this happens in the beginning of the movie, so it's not really spoilers, but they're being brought back to civilization and lives with Nikolaj Coster-Waldau's character, and these really, really, really weird things happening when Mama kind of comes to be together with her kids. So it's the monster design in this is incredibly well made and so creepy. And if I'm not going to spoil the ending, don't worry, but it. Yeah, no, wait, you have to watch it for yourself. I think it's a really good movie. It gets a little Hollywood-ish at some points, but generally I think it's an incredibly horror movie, and I really recommend it. And because I said Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, I actually came to think of a Danish horror movie that he's in, that if you can somehow get a hold of it or watch it somewhere, I really recommend it. It's quite old. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau is really young in this one. It's in Denmark. It's called Nadiaxel. I think it translates to the night guard, but I'm not sure what it's called in English. So basically, it's Nikolaj Coster-Waldau plays the main character, who is a night guard in a morgue. You can basically guess, I think, where this is going, right? So there is this bell. He asks, what is this bell for? And the former night guard says, well, if the bell rings, that means someone in the morgue is awake. And you're just fixating on this bell throughout the entire movie. The movie isn't necessarily, but you are as the viewer, because you're terrified that bell is going to ring. And I'm not going to spoil to you whether it's going to ring or not, but I tell you, this is a creepy movie. It's horror, but it's also thriller and kind of, what's this genre called? It's like investigation-ish, like mystery. I think it's also kind of like a mystery movie. But The Night Guard, or Nadiaxel, it's a really good movie. And also Nikolaj Coster-Waldau's butt is in it, so yeah. Okay, I think I just spent literally 15 minutes recommended some of my favorite horror movies. I just wrote a list really quick of like movies that came to my mind immediately. I know that there are a lot more movies that I could recommend, so I just can't turn my brain on and remember them right now. Anyway, I look at the screen right now and see how far we have gotten into the video, and I completely forgot that I actually wanted to say something about the drawing. Failure. No, I just want to catch up a little bit on it. So I am using ink from Winsor & Newton. Newton. Wait, I have to read. Okay. From Winsor & Newton, Black Indian ink. That's the ink that I'm using. It's the same ink I used last time. And I'm also using the same pen ink that I showed you in the last video. And I must admit, I have become pretty addicted to this ink pen. I love my regular, pens with, like with a cap on them and everything. What are they called? Liners? But this has become kind of like a new obsession for me to use ink like this. I just really, really, really like the way that it flows and all the variety? My mortal nemesis word comes to mind again. It's variety? Did I say it correct the first time this time? Variety in the lines, and it's so easy to shade because it varies the line shapes. It's just incredible. I'm kind of addicted. And this process today is sped up with 200%. So what you see, like the oh, I can't speak right now. The speed at which I'm drawing in the video is double as fast as I was drawing in real life. Yeah, so that should give you an idea once again how really, really slow I draw sometimes. That's also why I have to cut a lot in these videos, because I don't want to speed up my Draw With Me videos too much, because I think that kind of ruins the essence of what Draw With Me is. So I have to cut in between, and I actually cut away half of the video. But I think I cut it so that it makes sense, so you don't feel like you're missing out on too much. And I also made that close-up shot of the face because, yeah, I wanted to show you up close how I ink the face as well. So basically, also when I need to cover up big areas of black, I just use a regular brush to paint in the ink as if it was watercolor. And now that I can't think of anything else that I could talk about, I thought maybe I could share with you some of the ideas I have for upcoming videos. I do this once in a while to give you an idea of just what I'm working on, and yeah, because I obviously have nothing more interesting to talk about now that I'm done with my horror movie suggestions. But as you heard in the beginning of the video, I am going to next month release a video on how to build an art portfolio. I'm not really sure if that is going to be the focus of the video, like the art portfolio part. It's more like building a website and deciding like what kind of website do you need because for me, for instance, I need to have a section with some of the artwork that I really like, that I want people to see, but my entire website shouldn't be an art portfolio because there's so much more to what I do, for instance here on YouTube and on Patreon, and I also have a shop, so there's a lot of things I need to combine into this website. So art portfolio is definitely a part of it, but I'm trying to make it as broad as possible to include as many people and make it as relevant for you guys as possible as well. So that video is coming out next month, and I am still working on a video I mentioned a few videos back about inspiration for your drawing workflow, which is all of the creative processes leading up to the drawing, like picking colors and making a mood board, finding or making your own references and stuff like that. It's a pretty big production, so it takes a while. I think it will be out in November as well, hopefully. If not, then by the latest in December. So yeah, working on that as well. I also wrote down some more ideas for art style challenges that I just did recently, because you guys gave me a lot of cool inspiration in the comment section in the previous video. And of course, I'm working on the infamous tutorial on layers and layer workflow part 2, which is due over a year ago. So yeah, that's a bit embarrassing that I haven't gotten to that yet. And I'm also working on a new workspace tour because I just very recently, like 1 week or 2 weeks ago, managed to do a big interior upgrade in my office because we moved back this spring and the office has been undone for a long time, and now we finally got some new stuff up. So I'm actually kind of ready to show you my new setup, and that video should be out this year too. November or December. I'm kind of like November or Decembering things because this Sunday something major is going to happen in my life, and I'm very excited to tell you about it. I know some of you know what it is. Don't spoil it, it's a surprise. But basically something major is happening this Sunday, and I'm going to share with you as quickly as possible what it is that is happening, but I won't say anything yet because even though it's mostly for my own sake, I mean it's actually entirely for my own sake that this is happening, can't not affect my YouTube as well. So it's really exciting, and I'm very thrilled to mention this to you, and it's something that will be taking a lot of time in November and December, and that's why I'm kind of loose on when the videos will be out. But yeah, I am making different kinds of content for you guys. I am having such a hard time right now talking. Oh yeah. Last video I want to mention. I am planning to do a video on abandoned artwork and speed paints because I realized the other day when I was going through my video folder with video that I haven't claimed for specific videos that there's a lot of video in there for drawings I never finished or stuff like that, and I thought it would be fun to share it with you, as well as, now that I remember, a video showing you some of my old webcomics. That's going to be a cringy day. And maybe I should redraw one of the pages of my old webcomic, maybe. I don't know. That depends on how much we cringe that day, I suppose. So right now with the drawing, I have taken some ink and mixed it with a lot of water, so you get like this washed out ink, very transparent ink, and I'm just giving her hair some shade so it wasn't like this big white blob. I think it looked okay as a big white blob, but I really like it better with a little bit of shading. And I'm also shading some of the other areas of the drawing. I'm doing it very lightly because if I add too much water and go over the red areas too much with the brush, they will start to become pink, and that's not what I wanted for this drawing. So yeah, I'm just doing some shading now here with the gray. And we are almost finished with the drawing by now. Last thing I want to do is my personal favorite thing to do with traditional art, and that's adding some shine. I picked the gold, and basically this is some gold powder by Sminke, and you just pour out some of the powder and mix it with water. The more water you put in, the more transparent it becomes. The less water you use, the thicker the substance is and the more opaque it is. I used perhaps a little too much water this time, but Actually, once the gold dries, you don't notice it because the way that it interacts with the light and stuff. Ow, my finger. You'll see that in a bit when I finish the drawing. So I think I'll just leave the last minute or so to the music and I'll return to say goodbye. My big head coming into the picture during this golden signature. Don't mind it at all. So this is the final version of my Inktober mermaid drawing with the golden signature down there in the corner, feeling mighty fine. I love the way that it shines. So yeah, this was actually really fun doing, and I, as usual, really enjoyed working with the inks. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and for sticking with me to the end, and I am really excited to see you next time. So until then, take care guys. Bye!